Again, greetings to you. My name is Henry. I am living in Mexico right now. And my story is a quite long story, and it has a lot to see with the Title 42. And Title Corridor caused so much suffering for us, not in Mexico, not in the entire world, but in Mexico. It is like Henry giving like a short intro about his experience with Title 42, but it was quite short. Maybe didn't really understand like the length of the details that maybe we were expecting. I can just go back and clarify this for him so he can really start like telling his story in more details.
That would be great, thank you. Only if he feels comfortable as well, I'd like to reiterate.
Pas de problème, nous qu'à continuer.
Yes, we can continue. When we talk about Title 42, what I understand from this Title 42, to me, it's like it's a title that every country has to protect themselves when there is a situation of epidemic like COVID-19. So regarding a virus or epidemic that is causing harm in the world, some countries take some measures. But when in a situation, we have to explain that when we leave Haiti, we didn't leave Haiti for just for good pleasure. We were looking for protection somewhere that we could find a better life. But we could see that the US has used the Title 42 against us. They have left other countries, other citizens to get and US territory, but us as Black Haitians, they didn't allow us like to get in. It will be 2 years now that President Donald Trump came with this Title 42. And since last December, we could see how Black people have been mistreated. And this really made me feel bad. I experienced so much hard time in Mexico that I would never think would happen to me. I came in Mexico not to live in Mexico. Now I am based in Mexico while it was not my intention to live there. And we have like to face Title 42 and we had like to stay in Mexico because of this. In Mexico, when I talk about my suffering, I give example of when you rent a house for 1 month that you pay a deposit for, you pay for the month, and after 15 days, the landlord comes and, and kick you out from the house and say they no longer want to rent you. And now you need to find new money to go get a new home. And that means that you become homeless the next day. And the landlord can do this with the ease. They can put you out at any time. Sometimes they come and cut or tent, and sometimes they throw water at the tent where we're sleeping. Like right now, we experience a lot of bad weather. There's a lot of sun, there's a lot of rain. We cannot find food. We cannot have access to jobs because you need residency to have access to jobs. And you still in the country on a temporary basis. You don't want to stay there. And that's why we wanted to go in the U. And why we leave Haiti, that's because there was so much of insecurity. And we wanted like to come to the US because it would be the opposite. People will be able to breathe. There will be a better life in the US. And in Mexico, you see people raping your partners and wife, and you cannot do anything because they have guns. Sometimes they tie you, and if you try to resist, they will beat you up. So they rape your daughters right in front of you. They steal all your belongings. They take it with them. And sometimes they even like kidnap you. They take you in a car. I remember myself that in Mexico, they took me in a car and tried to go for 3 days, different places like with me. I had like no possibility like to take a shower. My children didn't have access to eat something. And all this was because of Title 42. And it's different for Cubans and also different for many other nations who are not black, who don't have like this kind of hair. They're not victims of as much of suffering. And like last September, we could see the patrol trooper with his whip. And it's not like we were stealing from people. They treat us just like we were thugs and thieves, and we were not. We were just leaving a country to find protection because a country doesn't provide security for us as citizens. And we could see what happened to the Haitian president. The president himself was tortured in his house. So when you think about all this, so you would say, as human beings, is it okay for someone like to live in a country like this? If the president who has all the security guards is not protected, what about like someone who live in a small house? And that's the reason. That's the reason why we left. And we are not thugs in thieves. We are professionals. And when we go in a new country, we provide our skills. We 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 have the capacity to contribute to the economy of the country. It's just that back in Haiti, we were not welcome to do something. Elsewhere, as engineer, we work, we provide results as as mechanics, we work as teachers, we work in different fields when we make it like to a different country. So I still don't see why they are using Title 42 to stop us from getting in the US and cause us like to know all this suffering. The same Title 42 has been used like to deport uh mom and they keep the dad and the child. This is a family separation right there. You have like your wife who is pregnant and you're looking for protection for her. And it's been cases where they keep the wife who is pregnant and they expose the husband. And all this is because of Title 42. So Title 42 is the biggest barrier for us to stop us from getting to the union. When you have a child born without a mother, without a father, that means a lot. So we are fathers, we are mothers. You know how hard it can be to raise a child without like the parents. So you know that you don't want like your children like to suffer from hunger. And that's exactly why we leave Haiti, because there were no education for children in Haiti. The thugs in Haiti had control on everything. They they stopped everything to function in Haiti. There are no doctors and clinics and hospitals because the doctors don't want to go to the hospital so they don't get kidnapped. So this is like a way to talk about how much Title 42 mistreated Haitians. It stopped like families to be together. It stopped like fathers like to see their child growing up. And now like fathers are back to the country. mothers are back to the country and they have the children in a different place. And all this is because Title 42. Title 42 caused family separation. And in Mexico, they know about this. They know what's going on in Haiti. No one is being protected in Haiti. So if no one is being protected, what about us as migrants? So what about us as migrants just crossing Mexico? I've been a victim myself of a lot in Mexico because of Title 42. Because the people who took me for 3 days, they were not police officers. They were they have the uniforms, but they were not police officers. I suffered a lot from Title 42. Title 42 caused us like to suffer a lot. And a lot of the examples have been on us. They are neighbors, and we came to look for help, and they didn't provide help, and they stopped us. And they this, as I'm not the only one who have like to share my story, I may share more in the future. So I leave some room for someone else I could take the time to talk about their experience with Title 42. And later on, I can add something.
Thank you for sharing, Henry. Very grateful that you're here. Daniel, if you could let the other participants know, whoever feels comfortable, that they can go ahead and share their story next.
Buenos días.
Hello, good morning.
Ok, antes que nada,
Okay, before anything else, I tell you that I'm honored to be here this morning, having an opportunity to be able to express our experiences, things that we have gone through. And I want to share about Title 42. I thank you in advance for being here today, listening to our voices, listening to my voice, which represents thousands of people who have been affected by this law. I would like to introduce myself, and I would like to share an opinion about what Title 42 is all about and the impact that it has had in our communities, the communities that have been affected because they are under this law. I think that it is a law, it's a terrorist law. It is law that is not humanizing, that has been affecting and has destroyed and damaged mostly thousands and thousands of people who had simply sought a right, the right to be heard, the right to be protected, the right to be able to seek respect, dignity, dignity to life, and also, most of all, to seek a way to be able to find peace. And that's what they're searching for, because they can't find it in their country. We cannot find it in our countries where we are coming from and that we are running away from. I think that Title 42, which initiated under President Trump, established by President Trump, has been a law that has, I guess, it's a policy that has damaged our countries. It's a racist law. It has destroyed, again, I know that I'm redundant, but it is a law that has doomed some people to live in extreme conditions. And I'm telling you because I am a witness. I am a victim of Title 42. It has affected me so much and my family. And it is incredible, not only in my case, because I have suffered firsthand, I have suffered psychologically, my family has suffered mentally, they're very vulnerable, and they have witnessed violent situations because they are not in the right place. We're not in a safe place. And so um, myself, my family, and other people that I have met, I've witnessed many cases where, as an adult, and again, I've gone through so much, but this waiting period in these conditions that are creating vulnerability, I've again, as an adult, witnessing this, I cannot imagine the damage. If I have felt this damage, I cannot imagine the damage the children have gone through, because thousands of children have been psychologically damaged. They have been verbally abused and physically abused, because I have bared witness of children that have been beat up, mistreated. In some extreme cases, they have been raped. And that's what I keep thinking about. The other thing that I would like to share with you is that Title 42 is contradictory because it only covers a minority, a certain amount, a certain group of people that are target. Because other people, the doors are wide open, but some other citizens from other countries, they, like, for example, Ukraine, with they have now with their on the situation, mass media has explained now the country only this year had conflict, but now they have um, an open door. So now the citizens of that country are welcome. But what happened with our countries? Statistics can show there were victims of violence. We're not in a war situation, but the media in our country uh, shows that we are in peril. Social media, every day I see the news about my country, and it saddens me to see the amount of people that have died, people, acquaintances, friends. And I'm running away from the situation in my country because I was threatened. Someone threatened to kill me in my country. So if I had not left my country, I would have been a victim of Title 42. And I'm here going through life with terrible conditions, like the ones in Honduras. So I ask you, the people who represent our community, take note of what I'm saying, because I'm telling you this in a very soft way, because the reality is tough, is hard, and what we live through is very impactful. There's no food. We go through, we have to deal with the weather. It's really hot, it's really cold, and we are in conditions that make us vulnerable. They're inhumane conditions, to say the least. And I ask, please, whomever represents us, whomever is there, who has the ability to speak face to face with the decision makers and the powerful people, if you have that power to be in touch with people who can actually change this law, to listen to this, and uh, and to have some empathy, because it's not just Ukraine, it's not just Afghanistan, it's not just Cuba. This is something like what we saw in the Second World War. It's like an apartheid. It's like South Africa. Is That's creating a scar, and we cannot forget that we're human beings too. There are laws, the UN laws, that show that we're all citizens, we're all having rights, but it seems that they forgot about us. And we also ask, stop deportations, stop only deporting just because. Listen to our voices, listen to our story that we have to share, and study the statistics. If you don't believe us, look at the statistics so you will see exactly what we're going through and these cases that really make us vulnerable in our countries. Also, I would like to add that the law is a law that, in my point of view, and many thousands of people more that are going through all these situations because of Title 42, is a law that is making sure that instead of just looking for the national security in the US, it's actually harming it, because there is a humanitarian crisis in the south border. And that has been shown, it can be proven. Uh, the mass media shows a situation where millions of people are going through. We're homeless, and it's a law that is keeping us marginalized. And it is just racism and xenophobia. And as I said again, um, it affects the national security more than helping it. I don't think that you're protecting your national security. This is not the way. So these are my words. And I also would like to add that we were hoping that with Biden, things would change. But as of today, we see the status quo, and we hope that you listen to us, and hopefully there will be a change, because the only message that we want to send to you is that we are asking for respect and dignity. And I thank you very much for allowing me to share my opinion. And thanks again.
Thank you for sharing. I know it's a very difficult topic. I believe we have one more panelist to share their story. Can the interpreters confirm if there is one more person?
Pour me faire suite avec ça deux amis au Sodian.
Following to what the two friends just shared, I have to talk about myself. I am a Haitian migrant who suffered a lot from Title 42. Just like the two other friends shared, we went through a lot of countries before we can make it to Mexico. We never know that we will end it in this kind of conditions in Mexico. And now we experience a lot of hunger, a lot of suffering, a lot of discrimination, a lot of people who don't think that we really exist as human beings, and we experience a lot of poverty. And I am talking on behalf of many other Latin America migrants who suffer a lot from Title 42. So when you look at the border of Mexico and the US, you can see a lot of migrants try to get in the US, but Title 42 is stopping them like to do this. So I believe that Title 42 was because of COVID-19, and it was a pretext of using a Title 42 to stop migrants like to get in the US with COVID, and we understood this. But at the same time, if someone has been tested and is negative, why? Why are people still being deported? Like the countries from Latin America have suffered a lot from this. And I'm still asking the question, why? Why like people have been deported even if they've been tested negative? And I would like to have a chance to to talk to President Biden and the entire administration, so they to ask them like to end Title 42. I know they have the power for this because so many people are suffering right now. Pregnant women, children, men, many people are suffering because of this now. And I have families in back in Haiti that I would like to like, support, and people know about the situation in Haiti. Everything is expensive. Healthcare is expensive. Education is expensive. The thugs of Haiti are in charge of everything. They kill president. So so I don't have any leader who can take care of my future. And to me, all this are suffering that we experience here. And again, I want to thank the other panelists that who shared the story. And I hope that our stories get all the way to President Biden's ears so he can be informed about the suffering of these people who want to tell about the story so people would not pretext that they don't know about what's going on. So thank you for giving me the space to share the story.
Thank you for sharing. And so now I believe all participants have shared their stories. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and unmute. If not, please go ahead and put the questions in the chat or in the Q&A. So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and I don't see any participants trying to unmute. If the interpreters would like to let the participants know that they can share some final words before we end this call, that would be great. I know that the first participant had said that he could share a little more if there was time permitting. This would be the perfect time for that.
Donald Trump est venu avec lui pour être capable de stopper les immigrants qui rentrent aux États-Unis.
The Title 42 is something that President Donald Trump came with to stop migrants trying to get into the US. And it has impacted a lot the Black people. What we are expecting and what we would like to tell the Biden administration is, as he is a president, he has the power, he has the authority to take like all the decisions. I hope that he has the power to 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 say something about Title 42. So what I will ask them is to end Title 42. In this way, our suffering could also end, and our pain would also end, because we are from a country that knows like a lot of problems, and we here like to come as protection in the country, and they have the opportunity to give us this favor. We have children, we have wives, we have like relatives who suffer from this. Psychologically, they are impacted by what they experience here. And when you know a child like who is like 7 who's smart, and 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 they can see these children that can can see situations of sexual abuse against the woman, and they and and sometimes they come and ask you as a father, dad, like what are these people were doing with my mom? So this is the kind of suffering that these children face and experience. So when now your wife is looking at you, when they know that like you were you were eyewitness of a sexual abuse, it's a lot. It's too much for Asian like migrants like to be going through. So that's why we're calling for an end like to the Title 42. And we know that in the entire world there is problems, but we can see that like as Black people, we are doing too much. And that's why we call the Biden administration to do something. 99% of us are vulnerable. The people who are 30, who are 40 and suffered in Mexico land. Many people die in Mexico because they don't get access to the health care that they need for their severe health conditions. And these are people who could benefit from the good healthcare in the US, and they have families in the US who can take care of them. And as you can, and we can all imagine that when someone who's a migrant in Mexico die, and in Mexico, even a funeral like this person would not have, and children are being sick there, and they're asking millions like to see children who are sick. So that's why we call the Biden administration, we call God like to touch their heart, we to really touch their heart so they could end the Title 42, so they can provide this opportunity to these migrants who are desperately looking for something. And in Haiti, we learn that like when you mistreating someone, when the person like lift the hand, it's a sign of surrender. And that's what we're doing right now. We surrender. We call for a little chance. That's what I would like to share. And my hope is that this word will be out and my story will be heard everywhere. And it could go in the office of the president. So he would hear this and would decide to do what he has to do and decide on what to decide. And it's a great opportunity for me like to share this with all that was on my heart, with all the suffering that I deal with. I wanted to find a way like to express myself. And I'm grateful that you were here available like to listen to me, to listen to my story. Just to follow up with my friends who is another migrant, I could just share this story. I would like to add to say that the Biden administration said that like any child under 18 can enter the US. I need to make it clear for the administration that it's nonsense because I cannot have a minor and then the minor alone it's irresponsibility like to do something. So Title 42 needs to be rectified. It needs to end. It needs to be erased. So all the parents like who are suffering with the children, so all the pregnant women would have the opportunity to enter the US and continue with their asylum processes as asylum seekers. And this way they can find a place like to live with peaceful mind and freedom that they are looking for. So that's what I wanted like to add. I don't know if someone else would like to have a final word, but this is all that I wanted to share to add to what my friend already shared.
I would like to add something else. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to ask you, please don't stop fighting for us. Don't stop fighting for us. Hear us. Give our voice volume so that people can hear us. You're here to represent us, to represent what we think. I don't want to die here. I don't want my mother to die here. I don't want more people to keep dying and suffering, more children to continue suffering from hunger, to continue crying. I don't want more children to be beaten and abused. I don't want them to continue on here in this cemetery. I don't want us to be seen just for our skin color or for our social status. I want us to be seen for the people that we are because we're all human beings. We've been fighting and we're suffering. We need to be heard. I think the tag right now would be enough with Title 42. And we need to promote social and human rights. Title 42 on these long 4 years has caused a lot of suffering, so many people. And I think the tag here would be for human life to matter. Human life matters so that we can be heard, please. Thank you.
Saved me again, Daniel. Thank you. I think that was the end of our participant sharing. I want to thank everyone who was here to hear these stories, but I would like to especially thank the courageous people who were here to tell us about their experiences with Title 42 at the border. If anyone has any questions, I'll be dropping my email in the chat. And just want to once again give a thanks to our interpreters, the panelists, and everyone who made this possible, as well as the people who participated. Thank you.